So we've talked an obvious thread of God through your life, a call, a gifting, a ministry that is a public one. It's one that's meant to be on stage. And then you've got Katie, who I think has honestly very similar callings and giftings. They go together very well. But when you're single, you're thinking it's going to look like this, and she's thinking it's going to look like this, and you've come together now, and it's time to settle down, set up households, start thinking about kids and all of that. And I know you guys have had some bumpy areas there. Are you comfortable talking about what it's been like to establish your family?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been a journey.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
So, it was really neat because we both had this desire to adopt, even as single individuals.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
We've both had a heart for adoption, and but our vision of how that was going to happen and our plan, if you will, was that we were going to be married for a year,
Okay.
and then we were going to start having kids, and we were going to have two, and then we were going to adopt a third, and that was how it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so we did. We got married in 2014, a little more than a year. And when I say a little more, I mean just by a few days, more than a year. We started trying to have kids and trying to get pregnant. And the months went by, and we kept seeing negative tests. And another month would go by, another negative test. And we realized within a few months that it was probably going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And so the fertility issues that we were having really started to take their toll. Not on our marriage, I think.
Thank God, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's beautiful.
I think if anything, it brought us closer together.
Good.
There were some moments where we had to figure each other out.
Oh sure, this is big.
I was trying to be the strong guy. She was a mess. And I'll never forget, this was a big life-changing moment for me as well, but she looked me in the face one day and she's like, I need you to not be strong for me. You have permission to be a mess.
That's
and I
really
need to know
good
that
advice.
I'm not the only one that's a mess here.
Good advice.
And
Yeah.
and that really allowed me to take a step back and think, like I really am a mess too.
Yeah.
And I did. And so so she didn't feel alone. I didn't feel overwhelmed with this sense of responsibility that I had to stay strong for our family.
Good.
And so we were a mess together. Some days it would be more her, some days it would be more me, but we were both in it together. And started the fertility treatments and all the things, and it just, nothing was shaking. We were really given a 0% chance. And this is one of those things where we said, okay, Lord, like we're just leaning in and we're still trusting. And so fast forward about 5 years, still no positive tests yet. But
that's a long time to contend for a dream.
It is, and we're still contending every day.
You are.
And
I'm standing with you guys.
Thank you, thank you. But it was really interesting because we had this heart for adoption, and we really felt like the Lord said, "Extend your tent pegs, and I'll bring the increase." We had this great house, didn't need to sell it, but we said yes, and so we sold our house, bought a bigger house, not much bigger, but bigger, and then we started feeling like the Lord was, maybe talking to us about, the adoption thing is something that you want to do. Still trust in me, but there are kids that, that need you guys.
That's right.
And we had in our mind what that was going to look like, right? And then I felt like the Lord started asking me, would you be willing to be a foster dad? And I'm like, nope.
Yeah, that's a tough ask.
Nope, not doing it. That's not how we're going to do this.
Because this is not the order we talked about.
It's not the order we talked about.
I know.
And fostering is not something we talked about.
Yeah.
I am not emotionally prepared to pour my life into a child that's going to be leaving me at some point.
I know, that's hard.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
And so I wrestled with God for a couple of months about that. And then one day we're driving down the road and Katie says, hey, I need to talk to you about something.
Uh-oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh boy, what did I do? And she looks at me and she's like, I don't even know what this is or what it's about, but I've been fighting it for a couple months. I really feel like the Lord is asking us to foster. And I said, holy cow, me too.
All right, so I do want to talk about, we've talked about that fostering is on the table now.
Yeah.
And so I know everybody's probably on the edge of their seats. They're like, what happened? What happened? What's happening with the household? So I want to talk about what's happening in your household now. Tell us about your family.
Yeah. So we said yes. The Lord asked us to do this thing, and we're both fighting it, but we ultimately said yes. And learned a long time ago that if God's asking you to do something, just say yes.
I agree.
He's going to take care of all the details, and there's so many blessings in it. Not just for these kids specifically in this, but for us too. It's been the hardest thing that we've ever done. It's been the most rewarding thing that we've ever done at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we said yes. We started the journey, going through all the training, and that was about 2 or 3 months of training, and then we had to do our home study to make sure that our home was sufficient, and it was.
Right, of course, because God said, He already said,
Yep.
He went ahead of you and did that. Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
And so we took our first placement in February of 2020. No, I'm sorry. Goodness. April of 2020.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we're right at the beginning of the pandemic, you
Wow.
know, and things are just crazy.
Yeah.
And we take our first placement, 2-day-old little boy. We brought him home basically from the hospital, and we knew from the beginning that his mom was working her plan and doing all the things that she needed to do. And long story short, ultimately he went back home, and so that was difficult because it was kind of a little out of left field and a little bit quicker than what we had anticipated, and we weren't emotionally ready or prepared for that moment.
I know, it's hard.
And that was very difficult.
Yeah.
But it was his time to go back. And so when we had started the process of, you know, taking phone calls from DCS and them asking us if, you know, if we wanted to take this kid, we wanted to take all the kids, right? But we wanted to make sure that the children that we took were some that we felt equipped to handle. And specifically, we got a phone call just before this little boy came to be with us from our caseworker, and they said we have this sibling group of two, a 2-year-old little girl and a 3-month-old little boy. The little boy's on oxygen 24/7, and he's got all these issues.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, he was 6 months at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And he has all these issues, and we felt so drawn to him. We wanted to take him so badly, but we didn't feel equipped to be able to adequately take care of them, you know, because it was our very first placement, or would have been our very first placement. And there were so many issues that he was having medically. We just didn't feel ready.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And so we very I don't even know what the word for it is. We said we had to say no.
Yeah.
We were very sad to say no, but we had to say no.
Yeah.
Got this other little boy, had him for a couple of months. And then 8 days after he went back to be, or back to his home, our caseworker called us again and said, "Hey, do you remember this sibling group that we called you about a few months ago?" "Yeah, we do." "Well, he's off of oxygen now. You know, everything's looking better. They're looking for a more permanent placement. This is something that you would be interested in." And we're like, we feel much more equipped now that, you know, he's overcome so many things. And so we said yes. And so they came to live with us July 1st of 2020.
Okay. Yeah.
And incredible. I mean, you know, these kids are they're incredible.
I've met them. They're so sweet.
This little guy's a fighter. The little girl is she's the funnest. You know, she's amazing. I remember one of the first nights that they were in our home, we were praying with them before we went to bed, and she just sits up and she's just like going after it, just like babbling, because she doesn't really speak, you know, coherently yet, but she's just, you know, going after it, and, you know, and powerful.
Wow.
You know, just amazing. She's 2.
Yeah.
And so we we knew that there was a calling that they had, and that there was something on them. We were just happy to be a part of their journey in some capacity.
Yeah.
So was it 7? Yeah, a week to the day. That was July 1st that we got them in our home. July 8th, so 7 days later, Katie and I are sitting on the couch. We had just put the kids to bed a little bit before. We're hanging out, talking, getting ready to go to bed. It's probably about 10 o'clock at night. And her phone rings, and she's like, I'm not answering this. It's probably a telemarketer.
Yeah.
I said, Katie, it's 10 o'clock at night. Telemarketers aren't calling.
That's true.
She probably answered that phone.
Yeah.
And she didn't know the number, but she answered. And on the other end was this girl who just immediately started pouring out her heart to Katie and telling her all, like, her whole story. And she had gotten Katie's number from our old neighbor, who was a mutual acquaintance. And basically she said, I'm pregnant. I don't feel equipped to raise this child. I'm not in the position to raise this child. I really feel like you're supposed to be the parents.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, well, why don't we meet?
Yeah.
And so just incredible. It's out of left field, literally. I had no idea that this girl even existed, much less that she was going to be calling us.
Right.
And but we were very interested. And so 2 days later, on my birthday, July 10th.
Neat.
So
yeah.
I'll expect birthday cards in the mail.
Yeah. That's right, July 10th. Y'all heard that.
But just kidding. But but we went and had lunch with this girl, and she was able to tell me her story as well. And so we committed to the adoption there with her that day.
Wow.
And there's a lot of details that we're not going to dive into because they're very personal. But it was a bit difficult. But just really felt something on it. And so Katie was able to walk out her entire pregnancy, not the entire, but the second half of her pregnancy with her. Went to all the doctor's appointments.
So neat.
Got to see his heartbeat for the first time and hear his heartbeat. The ultrasound, just incredible. And it was the height of the pandemic, and so only one of us could go.
Right.
But Katie had developed a really close relationship with this girl.
Okay.
And just loved her through the whole process. And so we walked that out, and then we find out that the mother of the 2 that we already have is also pregnant.
Yes. Yep.
And so we're like, okay, well, I mean, maybe that baby comes to us, maybe it doesn't. We don't know at this point.
Right.
So fast forward, long story short, the baby that we're adopting was born. We're actually in the room with him and with the mom when she delivered, which was, oh my gosh, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And so we room in with him for 5 days, and it's such a blessing that we got to be there because, again, height of the pandemic.
I know.
They're limiting people, but they allowed us both to room in.
Good.
And so we roomed in with him for 5 days at the hospital. And find out while we're in the hospital with him that this other baby's being born just 5 days later.
Wow.
And that we're getting him.
Wow.
And
Twins.
So we're preparing for one.
Yeah.
And we brought home 2 within 2 days of each other.
Wow.
Crazy.
I know.
The wild thing is, you said twins.
I know.
And so people ask us about twins all the time, and I refer to them as my little Irish twins, and they're not Irish at all.
They may have a teeny bit in there. You don't know.
Maybe.
But everybody has a little mixture in there.
Sure. But there's a guy who is like a spiritual father to me, who called us in the middle of our when we're really digging in deep with fertility treatments and everything, and he says, I'm praying for you guys. I just want you to know I'm standing with you, but I also felt like the Lord wanted me just to give you a heads up, and I just really feel like something about Irish twins.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't even know what Irish twins are.
I'm not even sure myself.
Two
I've heard
babies,
it, but yeah.
two babies that are born within 9 months of each other.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I have no idea what that means or even looks like, but I thought it was a really sweet thing. Just looking back and reflecting on that the Lord kind of gave us like a little heads up, like
Definitely.
hey, Irish twins are coming.
Wow.
And they were, and they're 5 days apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's within the 9 month range, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we raise them. I mean, we basically treat them as twin boys.
Of course.
They don't look anything alike.
Right.
It's funny, people ask us all the time, are those twins? So,
Of course they are.
sure.
I mean, yeah.
But they're amazing, and the kids are amazing, and they've been with us for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I couldn't love them anymore if they were my own flesh and blood.
Right.
They're incredible.
Right. I love it. I love your story. Thank you for sharing from the man's perspective, from the dad's perspective, because I think a lot of people, we hear the mom side, not many people get to hear the dad's side. So I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Sure. And then the next thing I really want to talk about is you've got your family for now, because I know God has more in store. I know you guys believe that, and I believe it with you.
Yeah.
Where is God? Where do you see him? We'll just talk near future for now, and not just family, but maybe also some of your gifting and calling that we've talked about. What is God speaking for the next 5 to 10 years? What do you see ahead?
Oh, goodness. That's tough.
I'm sure it is. It's probably a very broad question, but
It's
I'll allow the Holy Spirit to help you.
It's very broad,
Yeah.
and
There's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things happening with us. And putting that all together, it's like a big puzzle. It's like, we just opened this box, this got puzzle pieces, and we just dumped it out on the table.
Yeah.
And we started flipping them over, and I think we're starting, how you start to put together the edges first and then you
Yes.
fill in the middle.
Yeah.
I think we started putting the edges together.
Yeah.
And so we're getting a idea of the scope of it without the details.
Yeah.
But music is a part of that. Family's a part of that. Advocating for children who are in foster care and who are being adopted, that's a huge part of it.
Ask you a question about that, because Katie is talking about being very hands-on. What do you see your role being in that? Because you work a full-time job.
I do, yeah.
Plus you're a dad
Yep.
and a husband.
Yep.
So what do you see your role being able to be in that?
supporting her.
Okay, yeah.
She has this vision and she has the calling. I think mine is just really more of a supportive role for her.
Sure.
More than anything, and helping out as much as I can. She's got the vision. I'm very good at helping bring visions to life. It's part of what I do every day at work.
Yeah.
And so just supporting her and helping that vision come to life.
I love that.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is you guys do still have some things in there that God has stirred up. It's not going away. We talked about it
Right.
early on in this interview. These giftings and callings are not leaving your life.
No.
They're a thread that God's going to keep, but you're allowing him to put together the middle of the puzzle, and you're just open to whatever he does in that.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
Music is a huge part of it. Katie's even just started taking vocal lessons again.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I'm probably going to start doing that soon myself.
Good.
I've picked my guitar back up for the first time in a long time.
Good.
When you have 4 kids, I failed to mention that the oldest one of the 4 right now currently is 4 years old. So
So they're how old are they again?
So
Tell
4, 2.5, and then 16 months. The 2 boys are both 16 months.
Yeah.
When the boys were born, the oldest one was 2. So I had my hands full. Didn't quite have enough hands for a guitar.
Right.
But I've recently started picking it up again and playing
Good.
a little bit.
Good.
So we're getting to the point to where we can start focusing on our giftings. Because kids take so much of your time.
They do.
And
They do.
But I think the Lord was really generous to just kind of tuck that away and give us capacity to be able to get through the first year and a half or so.
Yeah.
With all 4 of them, because we went from 0 to 4 in 4.5 months.
I know, it's crazy.
and so, but it just really kind of pressed pause
Yeah.
on music and dreams that we had, and I think he just recently hit the play button, and so it's like starting to gain some momentum again.
Sure, because now not only, even though everybody is still not officially adopted, you're probably already looking at, I know you guys, and so you're looking at what are their gifts and callings and how can we call those forth and train those.
yeah.
And I have a feeling, sneaky little feeling, that their gifts and callings are the same as yours and Katie's, because that's how God does stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because one of them actually just one of the 16-month-old boys walks around singing "Happy Birthday" at
Wow.
16 months old
Wow.
and just sings all the time. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I agree.
I agree. I love that. So I think that's kind of it. Do you have anything else that you would want to say before we end? Or you?
I'm thankful that you gave me the opportunity to come and share my story, and we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
Since that cold February morning you
I
just
know.
showed at my house randomly.
I know, it was funny how
yeah.
we didn't tell that part, but go listen to Katie's interview if you want to hear how we met. It's the
Yeah.
same story.
But we've been friends for a long time, and our friendship has always revolved around a lot of really incredible things, but like really diving in and being able to share some deeper parts of my story specifically.
Yeah.
I don't think we've been able to do so. Just to not only share with you guys, but also share with you, and it's been really fun, really sweet. So just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for doing it too, because this is something, I didn't say it at the beginning of this interview, but as we were coming into the new year, I really felt like the Lord said, I want you to give your time to others and highlight other people. I'm like, I would love to do that. And so just started thinking about who that would be and what we would talk about. And the Lord gave me the title, Faith, Freedom, and Healing. And so thank you guys for joining us. This has been amazing. I don't know who's next month, but that's okay. I'm praying about that. But just very glad to have had David Kelley with us today. And I will see you next time that we get together.